where I draw my inspirations and for ideas, and I think it's also important to say how to prioritize ideas, right? So when it's interesting because recently I saw the founders of Vercel, which is a very popular tech company. There were two co-founders who got together and said, we want to build something. We don't know what. And then they started looking, what is exciting right now? There's just two new technologies. There were drones and WebGL, which completely different things. One of the co-founders said, drone, no way, I'm out of that. They'll be regulated later. I don't want to get into anything that's going to be regulated. So I said, okay, let's focus on the other one. And then they started thinking about ideas they could do with that. Can we build a game that's going to run on a web browser? Can we build? And that's how they came up with their platform, Vercel. And it's very interesting when you think about this, because they didn't have an idea, but they were passionate about building something together, and they wanted to build on top of innovation that was recent and be early on the trend. That's one way of doing it. I'm typically kind of like an ideas person, so by having conversation with other people, that's how most of my ideas come about. In my previous startup, Bodo, it was a no-code automation platform. And it was talking to people who wanted to build bots. And I started figuring out, like, it would be nice to have and I was reading a book at the same time. And I thought it would be nice if there was a platform that people could build the bots without having to know how to code and put their own logic in a canvas and then share those ideas and share that logic with other people. And that's how I built it. And it had very good traction with a specific niche in the Web3 space. And, it was talking to people that idea came. So if you're open, if you're an ideas person, that might come natural. But then what becomes hard is which idea to focus. At the time that a Bodo idea came, I had the other 3 ideas that I was already kind of like thinking about. And it took me almost a year from the idea of Bodo to actually do something. It took a hackathon that I thought, actually, this idea might be relevant to hackathon. And I started seeing early validations of it. That's interesting. So what I would say for people who want to be entrepreneurs, if you're an ideas person and you are trying to figure out which idea to focus, talk about that idea, share with other people. Don't keep it to yourself. There is a big misconception that someone else is going to copy it. Probably someone else is going to laugh, much more likely that they're going to copy what you're saying, and someone else is going to put you down. So you need to share. There's a great story from Airbnb. He didn't believe in his idea initially, right? The founder of Airbnb. And he initially was this renting an airbed. And then he went home for Christmas and his mother said, like, what are you doing now? He's like, I'm an entrepreneur. And she's like, so you're unemployed? He's like, no, I'm an entrepreneur, And then he started like pitching his idea that he didn't even was convincing himself it was a good idea. But as you start selling to other people, hearing and then discussing, the idea starts evolving. And Mark Zuckerberg as well from Facebook said that idea, it's not like in the movies where you have like that idea one and that's it. It keeps evolving. And if you don't talk or if you don't work on it, it will never evolve. And that's also one of the big reasons why I also believe that new companies won't be necessarily made by AI, at least not at the level that we see today, because it's not about, hey, here's the idea, go and do it. The idea is that continuous working of talking to people and evolving. And if you are not an idea person, do like the Vercel guys, think about what you're passionate about, technology, and start working. So to Enverge, what happened I was helping a friend who was selling batteries to energy companies. And he wanted someone to build a software that could trade energy to make money. I started talking to the energy companies, looking at their data, modeling, and I was doing all that for free. That's the other thing. If you're an entrepreneur and you want to, follow people, work with them, and do things for free, So I was doing that for free, and then I looked at the data and I was modeling. I was like, "There's no way you're gonna get your money back on the battery. Forget it." And we need to do something else with these batteries. Let's transform the energy into compute. And that's how the idea was born. It was really interesting because I came to one of the customers of the battery company, and they said, okay, look, there are many battery companies. We're going to buy your battery because of the AI approach and be able to have the service to monetize. And then at the second or third meeting, they came to me and said, "Hey, Breno, is that okay if we buy just your AI servers and don't buy the batteries?" So like, okay, that has real, validation that this can be a good business. So again, keep listening, keep checking for that. And on that note, one more story that I would share is the DoorDash founders. They had a different idea initially, and they were working already with restaurants, and they were not sure what they were doing. They were pivoting, and what they decided to do is to follow um, the routine of a restaurant person. And they just asked, "Can I just be here and work with you and wash your dishes?" And that's it, So they just went to the restaurant to work with them for free. And as they were there, they realized, like, what is this pile and the owner said, "These are requests that we can't fulfill because we don't have a person that can deliver the food." And it's like, that's ridiculous. Like, there's so much revenue. You're struggling here, right? Like, he thinking on his head. And that's how the inception of the idea started. But he didn't have all the idea that we see today. It took so many steps. It took competitors doing something for them to do something else. Like, for example, their competitors were focused on on companies who already had delivery and were in downtown. They were in the suburbs with companies that didn't have delivery. So again, yeah, I think, I don't know, that's how I've been doing, and some stories that hope they're helpful. One of the things that I'm excited, going back to doing things on new technology, we started building now the platform for the AI companies. And what we are doing is building something to compete with Google Colab. And initially we were using the same tech as Google. Now my co-founder and I got really excited about a new tech that replaces Jupyter Notebooks called Marimo. And we are building it based on that. It has a lot of struggles, but I'm super excited about the benefits. We spoke with 20 AI researchers, and that's a little new hack, another hack that I would say. We, practical things for founders, but we needed to talk to AI companies, and we were talking with companies, but the reality is that we needed to talk to the actual user, the person who were using the product, so we could figure out the features. And those are not the same people who make the decision about buying, not always, especially in companies. So we thought we need to talk more with AI researchers and engineers, but we also want one in the team. Let's put a job post. And as part of the interview, we're going to talk with loads of them. We got 200 applicants. We spoke with loads of AI researchers. We ended up finding a third co-founder and two other wonderful PhD researchers who are working with us now. And we spoke with more than 20 PhD researchers, by having a job post without having to do one single outreach. So maybe sometimes you need to be creative and leverage some of the tools you have, and job post is definitely a good tool for a startup. The other hack is if you haven't yet fundraised, you might have seen that people often put their companies as stealth startup. And originally I thought that's because people don't want to share what they're building. And then I realized a lot of companies do share what they're building, but they're still in stealth. I was in stealth initially because I was closing out a company and I didn't want to necessarily to, deviate much. And I realized that VCs were just reaching out. So what I learned is that if you put stealth on your job as in LinkedIn, people are scraping LinkedIn VCs every day, getting a list of people who are in AI, stealth startup founders, and they reach out to you. So I spoke with over 50 VCs now, and I didn't have to reach out to any of them. And we haven't even fundraised yet. So yeah, not a practical hack. I venture create because I like creating value to people. One of my first business was a gluten-free snack company. And I remember when one mom came and had that snack, and then she said, like, her daughter was celiac. She said, "My daughter never liked anything." And the feeling you have when you do something that creates value into someone's life, even one person, it's just really nice. And so I think that's one reason. And in general, that's the way that humanity evolves. I think there are unfortunately a lot of very smart people doing jobs that don't create anything. If you're not creating, you're not advancing society. You might be part of a creation, which is great. But yeah, that's why I venture create. I venture create because I like to create value into people's life and building new products for society.